Section 1. The Trap of Toxic Productivity. Are you tired of trying hard every single day? Why does modern life feel like an endless race? We meditate to work longer. We sleep well just to produce more tomorrow. This is the hidden trap of toxic productivity. But what if the best way to win is to stop trying? Today, we will explore a radical philosophy from Japan. It is not about being lazy. It is about a deeper way of living. When Westerners hear the word Zen, they often think of stress relief. They see it as a tool to calm the mind after a long day. But original Zen is much more explosive. It challenges the very idea of hard work and endless effort. In the West, people believe that effort always leads to success. If you fail, society tells you that you did not try hard enough. We carry this heavy guilt every day. Our minds are always busy, always calculating the next move. We are trapped in a cycle of constant friction. But true Zen tells us a completely different story. It says that the harder you try, the further you get from reality. When you push too hard, you create a wall between yourself and the world. Think about your own life for a moment. Do you feel guilty when you are doing nothing? Do you feel like you must justify your rest? In many Western cultures, doing nothing is seen as a sin or a waste of time. But in Japan, there is a beautiful tradition that finds value in the empty spaces. Let me ask you a question to start our journey. Why do you think we are so afraid of letting go of control? Why does not trying sound so dangerous to our modern ears? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let us look at the man who explained this secret to the world. Section 2, Daisetz T. Suzuki, the man who decoded the flow state. To understand this philosophy, we must look at one incredible man. His name was Daisetz Suzuki. He was born in Japan in 1870. Today, he is known as the man who introduced Zen to the Western world. His life was not easy. When he was just 6 years old, his father died. His family became extremely poor. Later, he had to leave his university because he could not pay the tuition fees. To survive, he worked as a simple English teacher in a small village. From the outside, his youth looked like a series of painful struggles. Anyone else would have felt miserable. But Suzuki did not view his life as a burden. He did not force himself to endure the hardship. Instead, he found a deeper calling. He fell in love with Zen meditation and philosophy. At the age of 21, he knocked on the door of Engakuji. This was a famous Zen temple in Kamakura. There, he meditated for hours every single day. He studied under great masters. He did not do this out of duty or for money. He was completely immersed in the practice. He was lost in the world of Zen. Later, his lifelong friend, the famous philosopher Kitaro Nishida, worried about him. Nishida told Suzuki to return to the university. Suzuki did join Tokyo Imperial University, but his heart never left the temple. For him, academic books were secondary. The direct experience of the mind was everything. Suzuki eventually traveled to America in 1897. He stayed there for 11 years, translating ancient Eastern texts into English. He possessed a rare gift. He could explain the mysterious concepts of the East using clear Western logic. He showed the world that true living requires no forced effort. It only requires total immersion. Section 3, the source of friction. Western dualism versus total immersion. Why do we feel so much stress when we try to accomplish something? Suzuki explained this by comparing the Western mind and the Eastern mind. He noticed a fundamental difference in how we look at the world. He said that Western thought is based on dualism. Dualism means dividing everything into two separate parts. We divide the world into subject and object. We see myself on one side and the task on the other side. There is a clear gap between the two. When you look at your work this way, an invisible friction is born. You look at the report you have to write and you think, I must finish this. The task becomes an enemy that you must defeat. Your mind goes into a battle mode. You start pushing yourself with willpower. This creates a massive inner conflict. One part of your brain wants to rest, but another part forces you to work. You are stepping on the gas pedal and the brake at the exact same time. This is why you feel so exhausted even before you start. The effort itself becomes a painful weight. Eastern thought, however, looks at reality before it is split into two. Suzuki argued that the Eastern mind seeks wholeness. It does not separate the worker from the work. When you eliminate this gap, something magical happens. The sense of I am working completely disappears. There is only the flowing action itself. You do not need willpower because there is no inner enemy to fight. Western culture is excellent at breaking things down to analyze them. It created amazing science and technology this way. But human life cannot be cut into neat little boxes. When you try to compartmentalize your passion, you lose the joy of the present moment. Section 4. Overcoming duality. The paradox of becoming the flower. Have you ever noticed how quiet your mind becomes when you are truly deeply focused? In those moments, your self-consciousness completely vanishes. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stop worrying about failure. Zen calls this state mubunbetsuchi, or non-discriminative wisdom. We often think that smart people have excellent judgment. Society rewards us for classifying, judging, and separating things. But Zen teaches us that this constant mental sorting is the actual root of our suffering. When you separate me from them, envy is born. When you separate success from failure, anxiety takes over. Your mind becomes a prison of your own labels. To explain how to break free from this prison, Suzuki used a beautiful poetic metaphor. He said, "If you want to know a flower, you must become the flower." What does this actually mean? It means you must stop looking at the flower from the outside. As an analytical scientist, you must stop measuring its petals or pricing its value. Instead, you must let your thoughts fade away. You must simply sit with it until the line between you and the flower dissolves. You open your petals with it. You feel the rain with it. This is not a strange, mystical trick. This is the exact definition of pure immersion. When you are writing a great story, you do not feel like a writer, you become the words. When you are cooking a meal with passion, you become the heat and the flavor. By dropping the habit of constant judgment, you tap into a massive reservoir of creative energy. You stop wasting electricity on self-doubt. The friction is gone and the pure joy of the action returns. Section 5. Redefining freedom. Jiyu is not laziness. It is your nature. What does it mean to be truly free? If you ask a modern person, they might say, it means having no alarm clock. They might picture lying on a beach doing absolutely nothing for weeks. But Suzuki pointed out that this view of freedom can actually lead to deep emptiness. He revealed a fascinating linguistic secret. When Western ideas entered Japan in the 19th century, scholars could not find a word for liberty. In the West, liberty usually means freedom from oppression. It means breaking the chains of an outside controller. It is a negative definition because it always requires an enemy to fight. To translate this concept, Japanese scholars searched ancient Buddhist texts. They found the word Jiyu, but Jiyu means something entirely different. The characters literally mean to come from oneself. It is not about escaping external rules. It is about acting directly from your own deep essence. True freedom is not a state of passive laziness. Lying on the couch all day scrolling through social media is not freedom. In fact, your brain is being controlled by cheap dopamine and external algorithms. You are not acting from your own essence, you are being reacted upon. Suzuki used a beautiful natural example. He said that a pine tree is free because it does not try to become an oak tree. A bamboo shoot is free because it is perfectly content being a bamboo shoot. They do not look around and compare themselves. They simply allow their inner nature to express itself completely. When you find what you love, you do not need anyone to force you. You do not need artificial discipline. You move because your inner nature demands it. This is the true meaning of Jiyu. You are finally driven by your own light, not by someone else's shadow. Section 6. The Zen Paradox. Why trying hard lowers your performance. Here is a question that might challenge your entire belief system. Why do our best ideas always come to us in the shower? Why do we get stuck when we sit at our desks and force ourselves to think? In Western cultures, children are taught to give 100% effort at all times. No pain, no gain is a common slogan. But Zen presents a shocking paradox. It says that conscious effort actually ruins the purity of action. When you consciously tell yourself, I must try hard, you are splitting your mind. One part is doing the work, while the other part is watching and judging. You are constantly asking, is this good enough? Will people praise me? This inner judge acts like sand in a delicate machine. It creates immense friction and slows down your natural talent. Suzuki stated that life should be like a complete work of art. In a great painting, you cannot see the artist's struggle. You only see the beautiful result. The same rule applies to your life. Birds do not take classes to study how to fly. Fish do not practice how to swim. They just move spontaneously. They are completely at one with their actions. When you drop your calculating ego, you stop fighting yourself. You enter a state of effortless action. This does not mean you do an inferior job. In fact, it means you finally allow your true hidden skills to come out. Think about how cultures view work around the globe. Do you think society places too much value on looking busy? Why do we praise the person who stays late at the office, even if they are exhausted and unproductive? Let me know your perspective in the comments. It is time to look at how warriors use this effortless power. Section 7. The action philosophy of the samurai. No room for hesitation. To understand how practical this philosophy is, we must look at the shadow of death. Why did the fierce warriors of ancient Japan embrace Zen? The samurai were not peaceful monks. Their job was violent, dangerous, and required instant reaction. Yet they built their entire code of honor on Zen principles. They did not use Zen to run away from reality. They used it because on the battlefield, a single second of calculation meant death. If a samurai thought, "Should I move left or right?" or "I want to survive this battle," his sword became slow. The ego created a fatal hesitation. His inner judge became his worst enemy. Zen provided these warriors with an absolute mental shield. It taught them a radical philosophy: do not separate life from death. When you accept both as one reality, the fear of dying completely vanishes. Suzuki explained that this mindset created a unique moral virtue in Japan, called kyo-yasa, or pure detachment. To be kyoi means to have no lingering regrets. It means your mind is perfectly clean, with no mental friction. When a samurai drew his sword, there was no past and no future. There was only the absolute present moment. He did not force himself to be brave. He simply became the movement of the blade itself. This reveals the ultimate secret of the flow state. True immersion is not a gentle, passive emotion. It is a fierce, sharp focus that cuts through all unnecessary mental noise. You do not need a sword to practice this today. When you face a high-stress situation at work or in life, stop trying to calculate every outcome. Let go of the desire to control the future. When you stop hesitating, your true power finally moves. Section 8, Wabi Sabi, stripping away the noise to find what matters. When you free your mind from constant calculation, your outer environment begins to change too. Suzuki explained that this deep, Zen mindset naturally created Japan's unique view of beauty. You have probably heard of the words Wabi and Sabi. Today, people often use them to describe interior design or rustic minimalism, but their original meaning goes much deeper. The word Wabi originally came from a verb that meant to feel lonely, down, or poor. It describes a life stripped of luxury. But Zen transformed this negative concept into a badge of spiritual honor. Suzuki stated that the true meaning of Wabi is poverty, transformed into absolute inner wealth. It means you choose not to run after every modern trend. You stop looking for happiness in external validation, like status, wealth, or the approval of others. These things are just non-essential noise. When you deliberately strip away this noise, you finally discover what truly matters to you. You find the few activities where your genuine passion lies. The word Sabi represents the beautiful rust and quiet wear, created by the passage of time. It finds value in things that are physically imperfect, weathered, or broken. Why did Japanese artists fall in love with imperfection? Because an imperfect object does not demand your intellectual judgment. It does not pretend to be flawless. It simply exists in its natural state. Modern society constantly screams at us to buy more, achieve more, and be perfect. This endless chase fills our lives with mental clutter. Wabi-sabi is a beautiful reminder to slow down and embrace the quiet spaces. By reducing the external friction in your life, you create a peaceful sanctuary for your mind. You finally gain the freedom to focus deeply on what you love. Section 9. The eternal moment, living fully right now. This deep connection with nature is beautifully captured in traditional Japanese poetry. Suzuki paid close attention to haiku, which is a poetic form that strips away all unnecessary words. A great haiku is not an intellectual puzzle. It is a direct flash of intuition. It captures a moment where the observer and nature become completely one. Suzuki often highlighted a famous masterpiece by Matsuo Basho, the greatest haiku poet in history. The poem goes like this: "No sign of dying in the cicada's voice." At first glance, many people interpret this poem as a moral lesson about human foolishness. They think Basho was criticizing the cicadas for singing so loudly, completely unaware that they will die in a few days. They compare the cicadas to humans who party without thinking about the future. But Suzuki strongly rejected this shallow interpretation. He argued that it misses the entire point of Zen intuition. Basho was not looking down on the insects from a golden tower of logic. He was not making a moral judgment. Instead, Basho heard something far more profound. The cicada is not crying because it is afraid of the future. It is not calculating its remaining days or forcing itself to work hard. It is simply pouring 100% of its entire existence into its song right now. In that absolute focus, the duality of life and death completely disappears. The cicada becomes the song, and the song becomes the eternal universe. We often destroy our present moment by worrying about tomorrow. We live our lives in the shadow of future anxieties and past regrets. But the cicada shows us the ultimate secret of effortless power. When you immerse yourself entirely in what you are doing, right now, time stands still. You enter the eternal present where no friction can touch you. Section 10. Conclusion. Turn your life into art via effortless action. We have traveled through the deep landscapes of Zen, from the sharp sword of the samurai to the eternal song of Basho's cicada. What is the ultimate lesson for our modern, chaotic lives? It is time to reclaim the true meaning of effortless action. Zen does not ask you to quit your job or abandon your goals. It does not tell you to become a passive observer who does absolutely nothing. That is the great misunderstanding of the modern world. Instead, Zen invites you to stop fighting against your own nature. It asks you to drop the toxic habit of constant calculation. When you live your life based on outside rewards, you choose a path of endless friction. You spend your precious energy worrying about status, praise, and the fear of failure. You force yourself into molds that do not fit your soul. This is not hard work, it is a slow spiritual burnout. Suzuki showed us a radically different way to exist. He taught us that life itself can become a beautiful work of art. To achieve this, you must find the activities that make you forget about time. You must discover the spaces where your inner nature can express itself completely without hesitation. When you wash the dishes, just wash the dishes. When you write, become the words. When you create, let your ego fade away. By focusing entirely on the present moment, the painful weight of effort naturally dissolves. You stop over-efforting and you start flowing. Thank you so much for watching this video until the very end. If this perspective touched your heart, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with a friend who is tired of trying too hard. Let go of the control, step out of the endless race, and let your true nature guide your path. See you in the next video.